Agent Romanov. You miss me?
Oh yeah, Charles, we got ourselves an X-Men fan.
Captain.
Your Highness.
Captain, big fan, Spider-Man. Hey everyone.
Hey everybody, welcome back to 𝗪𝗁𝗁𝗃𝗀𝗀. I'm your guy, 𝗪𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗀𝗃, and today we're going to be breaking down the new Black Widow movie. Now, if you haven't gone to see Black Widow, you might want to put this video in the save for later. Now, I'm not necessarily going to be doing a play-by-play. These are just kind of my reactions and thoughts about the film that I literally just watched. But at the same time, there might be things I say that are spoiler-esque. So if you're worried about that, then go. But come back. Come back right after you watch it. All that being said, let's get started. So the Black Widow movie, it's the movie that we've been waiting for like a really long time because it's been just pushed back, and then with the pandemic, we just were like, are we ever gonna see this film? And we thought that Disney might actually release this Marvel film in like the Disney Plus premium packaging, but Disney held their ground and kept pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off, and now it's finally here, and it was kind of what I expected it to be. And is that a negative comment? It takes place in between the Captain America Civil War and the Infinity War, like, period of time. So she's on the run from, you know, the Soviet Accord rule-keeping people, and we have our Black Widow movie in a huge, immense event that takes place that we hear literally nothing about in the Avengers timeline. So, and I like that because we have some things established, and it kept it so it could be all Scarlett Johansson. At the same time, one of my kind of grief points, which it's not necessarily a bad thing, but nothing felt very significant in the movie because you knew, well, Scarlett Johansson plays a very critical role to the end of Endgame. Spoiler there, I guess, if you haven't seen that yet. If you haven't, what's wrong with you? But we know nothing high stakes is going to happen to her, but there's also another component when you put a movie in kind of the slap dab of a timeline that's already fully fleshed out in a total, like, full phase of the Infinity War saga. Characters that show up, you're not entirely sure how significant they're going to be in the long run. And that's kind of how I felt with the supporting cast with the Black Widow movie. I want to call him Jim Hopper because Dave Harbour, right? The Red Guardian. I hope I see him again, but I don't know. Black Widow's sister, who I thought was fantastic. I hope I see her again, but there's no guarantee of that. And same with Black Widow's faux mom. Spoilers. I hope I see her again, but there's just no guarantee of those things happening. All that being said, the movie kicks off with a pretty interesting, like, beginning. You get the origin of, or kind of origin of Black Widow, and it's really intense. You feel that darkness surrounding her background. You feel the emotional, psychological toll it took on her. And I remember sitting there in my seat just going like, whoa, this is like pretty crazy intense. Like the first 10 to 20 minutes of the movie, I was like, this is like dark, it's gritty, it's sad, and it really adds depth to Scarlett Johansson's character as the Black Widow. And that's something I have liked about the things that Disney is producing. It's adding further depth to characters they've already established. Take, for example, WandaVision. I significantly enjoy the Age of Ultron movie more, knowing what Wanda becomes. The same with this movie can be said, is getting a little bit of a picture of what Natasha went through to become who she is, and the pain and turmoil and psychological toil it took on her. It just makes me appreciate her character more, because really, and there's even a joke in here, she's not the strongest Avenger, she's not the most interesting Avenger, she's not the leader of the Avengers, so her significance always seemed to be kind of less, and having movies like these really bring out why she was an Avenger, and B, carried significance and really made a huge decision that ultimately saved the universe. So alongside with that, I didn't expect to like Natasha's sister as much as I did. Now, her getting turned into kind of a good person very early in the movie kind of surprised me. I didn't expect it to happen so quickly, but Natasha and her sister's chemistry was immediate. She really carries all of her scenes, either whether she's with another character or by herself. She's funny, she's interesting, she seems like she's just as bad and awesome killer as Natasha is. So if Marvel wanted to bring her into later movies, I'd be totally down with that. It goes to the age-old question, where were you in the big moments? At the same time, she was interesting and I liked her. When it comes to Jim Hopper, Red Guardian, David Harbour, he felt underutilized to me. He's a pretty big name to bring into a movie, and he was entertaining. Every time he was on screen, he commanded the moment. That being said, I didn't really get enough of him, and he was almost too much of the comedy relief in this movie. And for setting the tone as dark and gritty and then kind of lightening up along the way, there's just a lot of moments in this movie where I felt like, oh, we're being funny again. I don't know if funny is what I would have done here. This is a funny movie. There's a lot of jokes. I found myself chuckling and laughing all the way through it. But then there was moments where I felt like that was maybe unnecessary. Now, don't get me wrong. The Red Guardian was entertaining, and I love Jim Hopper. It is like Jim Hopper with superpowers, so I was totally in for that. And when he puts on the suit for the first time, it's funny. So I'm glad to have him in it.
Before we continue our video, I just want to let you guys know that we have a really cool Instagram that updates on a regular basis. So if you like all things Marvel, this is the Instagram for you. So go follow that 𝗪𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗃 Instagram right now. You won't regret it, I promise you. Seriously, open Instagram right now and click that follow button. Now back to the video.
Also, the mom who scarily looks like 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 Shields but is not. Has she been in another movie? I know I've seen her somewhere before, but maybe she just looks like other actresses. She does pretty well as well. When you first get her on screen or see her, she's not super interesting, but by the end, you totally bought. You're like, the supporting cast, the main three surrounding Natasha in this movie, really did a good job. Now let's kind of talk about some of the things that I didn't really love about this movie. And once again, this is kind of the per usual Marvel formula with a pretty forgettable villain. Now we knew that the villain that was going to get introduced to this movie couldn't be like a long-term villain. This wasn't going to be a Thanos. This wasn't going to be even a Red Skull. I mean, Red Skull, I guess, showed up a couple times, or a Loki. We knew this villain was probably going to be a one and done, and it felt that way. So you got the Taskmaster, and then you got kind of someone behind the scenes pulling all the strings. They're just forgettable. They're forgettable characters. Taskmaster looked cool, but even as you go along the movie, Taskmaster's just not in this movie a lot. The significance, so we first meet the Taskmaster, he kind of whoops up on Natasha, but as the movie progresses, he seems to get weaker or less significant. The villain's forgettable, and I just love good villains. But this movie it's a spy movie. It's focused around Black Widow taking down the organization that made her. That's what it was. It's like Mission Impossible, but done well. A lot of people like Mission Impossible, but I thought this was just a good spy movie. Interesting, funny, kind of kept me entertained all the way along the way. So when it comes to like summing up this movie in total, it's a funny, action-packed ride. It's pretty run-of-the-mill of Marvel. Like, there's not a big deviation from what Marvel does here, except I would say the humor was laced a lot more in the intensity than it has been in the past. And this is just something worth noting. There's a lot of things that gets broken in this movie. Like, people breaking bones, breaking legs, breaking noses. Like, there's a lot of break in this movie. So if you don't like seeing, like, wrists flop over or feet turn the wrong way, you might want to have like a blanket or something in the theater with you to kind of avert your eyes quickly. Also, there's a scene where she like gashes out a tracker in her leg, Natasha's sister, and whew. Like, I've seen more intense movies, but like when the movie's rated R, I'm ready for that stuff. PG-13 Marvel, I'm like, oh, I wasn't ready for that. I watched Loki lose his hand this week, and then I watched this. There's just so much violence in Marvel anymore. To sum it up, guys, it's definitely worth watching. It wasn't bad. Like, even with some critiques, some things that felt like weak villains, plot was run-of-the-mill Marvel. It just was. There's some convenience, some like, well, how did we get here? Who cares? But at the end of the day, it's a good Marvel film. Scarlett Johansson kills it as Black Widow. She's great. She's awesome. The supporting cast around Scarlett Johansson, very entertaining, very engaging, very fun to watch. All that being said, I would totally give this movie like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. So it's enjoyable, fun, family friendly, maybe, kind of, maybe older family friendly, and a good time. So if you haven't gone to see Black Widow, go see it now and enjoy Marvel. It's back. There's nothing better than sitting in a movie theater again and seeing the Marvel like title sequence show up. It was great. All that being said, guys, if you watched Black Widow, let me know what you thought about Black Widow in the comments. And if you haven't, well, I guess you've heard a lot about what I thought about this movie, and I'd love to hear what you thought, so leave that in the comments after you've gone and seen it. All that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up if you could, because A, it doesn't really take much time, and B, it helps us here. We're trying to do this on the daily for you guys. So if you could, drop that thumbs up and below. And as always, until next time, see you later.